Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Welcome, welcome. What I want to do today is that I want a couple of things. First, I'm going to talk about global climate change events. Then I'm going to talk about a little bit about how we can keep ourselves in alignment when some of the stuff is going on, particularly the terrifying climate change events or the perceived terrifying things that are more emotional in nature. There were, for the past 2 weeks, a lot of solar activities. There was an X-class called solar flare, I think it was a week ago, that was so powerful, and thank God it was on the departing limb side of the sun. It was not facing the Earth, and it was so strong that the plasma ejected from the CME was running at 3,000 kilometers per hour. This is something that in an instant would collide with the magnetosphere of the Earth. And it's a good thing it was from the outside. It's actually, that sunspot is rotating and coming around again. But some terrifying development are happening, not only in the sun, but also, and although I channeled this over and over again, and in the December channeling from the Galactic Regional Council, it also said the same thing, that the magnetic north of the Earth is shifting. The magnetic pole is shifting. And as it shifts, there will be a time where there will be multiple north to south pole. And the reason for this is because the iron core, there's a liquid part to it and there's a solid part. And the solid part, which is in the center, is not 100% iron. There is iron in it, and that iron, because there is electrical charge that are passing through it, creates a torsion field that has a north and south axis. But it's not just iron. There's nickel, there's other metal in it. And they too have separate north to south polarity because of their conductivity is different. They have north to south polarities as well. And what's happening right now is that the magnetosphere, the iron core itself and its alignment initially entrains for the most part these other north to south axes. It brings them back together into one cohesive expression. But what happens is that these other metals at this time are separating. And because it's doing this, there will be at some point multiple north to south axes. And what the result will be a weakening in the actual magnetosphere that protects us from cosmic rays, gamma rays, and radiation coming from the sun or from anywhere else. There will be a weakening in that field. Scientists are already observing this. They're observing that the actual magnetosphere of the planet is getting weaker. And this is why the solar flares are concerning. So there is a relationship with the plasma and the CME that are ejected from the sun and the actual magnetic polarity of the planet. Now, as the iron core, and these other metals that are in it are separating, they also will begin, each north to south axis will hold in them a different parallel reality. And at the time of the galactic equator, which will be around 2027, 2030, or 31, 32, when that occurs, these other north to south axis will peel off. And they will take with them all the people who have committed to whatever, emotionally, to whatever reality that they're holding to, whatever, whether the emotion is fear, it's victimization, whether the emotion is rage and anger, xenophobia, whatever it is that they're holding, or hedonism, whatever it is that they're holding, it will peel off. I want to explain this in that kind of detail because we are living more and more right now. Just before we started the recording, I was talking to two people from the class who's I have roots in Mississippi, and that tornado touched down and wiped out that entire town. And they have family members that are alive, of course, thank God, but that have had their homes have sustained damage, and they lost everything. They're emotionally traumatized, and so on and so forth. So we all will know something, or we will ourselves will have to deal with a quick evacuation of some kind because of some sort of a dramatic climate change event. And I want you to understand what I'm saying. I'm not trying to spread fear because it's not just this incident. I happen to be, 3 degrees of separation from people who are in it. I have another client who was in the wild for twice, had to evacuate in the fires that were in California. Where you put your belongings in a car with your animals, and then you flee, and you start driving while everything is all smoky and looks during the day it looks like it's day night. It's nighttime. So I'm saying that more and more these things will start encroaching into our experience on the planet, and I want you to understand that in the event that you were asked to evacuate, or something like this were to happen close or in your proximity, whether it is a fire, flooding, earthquake, whatever it may be, tornado, tsunami, whatever it is, flee, escape so that you can still remain alive. Do what you need to do, particularly as it relates to these extreme climate change experiences. Do what you need to do so that you can stay alive. This is where the fear, fight, or flight reaction and instinct will serve you. Do not deny, do not pretend, it's a good thing to meditate and to know that everything is an illusion. In this instance, the illusion could take you out of this planet at this moment. So it's time for you to flee so that you can remain alive and you can achieve transcendence. Get out of the way, whichever way possible for you to do this. Before I proceed with the emotional part of this, I want to talk a little bit more about solar flare symptoms, because even for me, the past 2 strong solar flares that actually hit that caused me to have all kinds of, because it had been 5 years since I was monitoring myself and scanning myself for solar flare symptom, that I completely had forgotten what they were like. And I want to use this opportunity as a reminder, as the solar activities are getting very strong, in the event that something like this were to happen to you, so that you will know what it is. The symptoms are typically sleep disturbance, inability to sleep. You toss and turn, you keep waking up, you keep, you cannot go to sleep. Okay? Agitation, emotional agitation, or a buzzing sensation. I'm going to explain what I mean by the buzzing because it's very specific. And for me, it's the most disturbing part. You're looking at yourself and you look like you're steady, you're solid, but inside of you, everything is shaking. Like you have a nervous tick. Like your whole body in your interior is vibrating and shaking. And you can hear and feel a buzz, like bzzz, inside of you. In the extreme of this, my sister Marjorie, who was who did EKG at a doctor's office, I remember the last time we had a solar maximum some years back, 5 years ago. She had a flurry of people that were coming in around that time with brain seizures, minor brain seizures. And they were all claiming of this buzzing. They can hear this buzzing. And it's because when the magnetosphere, when the magma from the sun begin to collide with the magnetosphere of the planet, what happens is that it brings in all this ionized particle. And when it collides, the EMP, electromagnetic pulse coming from that ejection, has a tendency to fry all electrical circuit. So for the scientists, on Earth are concerned about all the satellite we have in space and our electrical grid. But very few, if not no one at all, are talking about the fact that we as human beings are also electrical by nature. We have an entire circuitry of nerves and electrical system that is electrical. And the buzzing is literally a short circuiting that's happening when these flares are running. By the way, the flare that was 2 weeks ago, there was aurora was visible all the way in New Mexico, from the North Pole all the way down to New Mexico. So it was a substantial, the storm was what they call, what is it again? And it was category 4 in terms of electrical disturbance, which is very, very 4 to 5, very strong. And at that day, I just didn't understand what was going on with me. I didn't remember what it felt like. I just woke up feeling like I was trying to push a train by myself. I felt completely out of center, like either I had not slept at all or that I was hungover, and then the buzzing. I could not figure it out. It took me until 10, 11 o'clock when I was talking to someone and I was explaining to my friend what was going on. And then he said to me, my sister just told me that was a major solar flare. And I went, oh, solar flare, that's what it felt like. I knew it felt like something familiar. I just could not remember what it was. Because, when I wake up and I feel so out of sort, I always blame myself. I didn't do enough of my practice, or I did it very poorly. I was not really committed or dedicated. I did something wrong, right? As opposed to thinking that there was an event, a solar event, an event, a Deus ex machina, that's happening outside of the Earth itself, that's causing this sensation. And when you are in those if you're feeling these symptoms, sometimes it's a sensation like needling, like something is moving, needling your body, all kind of like very strange physical symptoms. And when that happens, what I do is that I pray to the sun, and I say to the sun, I know you're not trying to hurt me, because what the sun and the solar flares are doing is to dismantle from the electromagnetic, because there are multiple other parallel realities. Remember, we talk about multiple north to south pole axes. So there are multiple other realities that are on top of each other. It's trying to diverge and remove what you don't belong in anymore. It's the demolition crew. But it's a sensation that's actually terrifying, because that shaking is like, I'm not in my center. It's like I'm buzzing, my axis is doing this. There's a buzzing, and it's doing this, and I'm not feeling well. And so after I do the prayer, I ask the sun, I know what's going on right now. Because what I was trying to do in my mind is that I'm trying to bring myself back to where I was, with my center and my axis grounded. I was trying to bring your consciousness back into a place where you can force this back in. What you should do at these moments is the exact opposite. Don't resist. And take a very deep breath and ask the sun to actually do its work because it knows better. The sun, without the sun, there would be no life on Earth. The sun is not going to destroy the planet tomorrow. Without the sun, there would be no life on Earth. And the planet Earth for over 5 billion years have been sustained by the sun. The sun has a higher intelligence in it. There's the solar logos, Helios and Vesta in it. Lean into that space and ask them to help remove your yielding, you're not resisting, and remove what no longer serves you. And then what I did is at that day, I remember that day so clearly because I was supposed to go to Brooklyn to my sister. And I had my coat on, I was on the way out, but I felt so horrible. I'm like, I'm gonna go in the subway, I'm gonna faint. And I can't call her. I said, I'm not feeling well. I'm not coming. I don't know what it is, but I'm off center completely. I'm not feeling well. I had not figured out it was the solar flare to begin with, but I at least intuitively, I knew. I was like, I am so far off center, I'm not going. And by the way, when you're feeling this way, this is not the day to do a strenuous exercise regimen. If you do this and you push through it, because a lot of us, or if you're like me or Capricorn, you start something, you finish it, no matter what, okay? But this is not the day for you to be a Capricorn and to be stubborn. This is the day for you to actually yield and say, I am not feeling well. Cancel your plan. And in this instance, I canceled my plan. I took a nap. I did my prayer and I took a nap. 2.5 hours later, when I woke up, I felt a lot better. And drinks lots of water, lots of water, lots of water. I want to share that with you because I'm seeing a pattern. I think the solar flares are going to accelerate and they're going to get stronger and stronger because they're now they're going to try to coordinate. As the magnetosphere of the planet begins to weaken, as this reversal is beginning to happening, is getting stronger and stronger, these flares are going to cause more and more cleansing, and will have a more and more cleansing effect and diverging effect. Not only in our own electrical grid, but in everything on the earth that's electrically connected. Okay? Now, having said this, I think I've said everything that I wanted to say about this. If you have any questions, please do ask a question at any point. Any comments, any questions you may have about this so far? All right. So what I want to talk about now, I want to talk a little bit about the perceived threats. We talked about actual threats, meaning climate change events, earthquake, some sort of fear-related stuff that needs your attention, that you need to respond to so that you can survive. But there are lots of times where the threat is perceived and it's emotional, and it's being triggered by something that someone says or do. And it could be, for example, I'm gonna, because these things will happen. It's not just one event. For example, if I know all these climate change events are taking place, you're witnessing flooding in California, you're witnessing drought in somewhere in Europe, you're witnessing war between Ukraine and Russia, you're witnessing tornado touching down all the way in the south, all these kind of things. What's going to happen, even though you may be in alignment with your spiritual practice with the divine, these external big events will begin to erode and begin to basically cause your alignment to tilt. It will begin to slowly erode at the axiality or the verticality rather that you're holding in your connection with your own higher power, and it will begin to slowly and gradually. The way I experience this when I'm doing my meditation is like I can feel that I'm connected to God, and I feel this beautiful energy coming in, and I feel aligned in peace and serenity and clarity. And then on the edge, after a few days of these events, I can sense a cloud rotating around me. And after a few days of this cloud being on the perimeter, one day I wake up and the cloud is in me. And the way it's in my core, in other words, and the way I react to it is similar to when the buzzing. I would wake up feeling so misaligned that I will do anything to get back to the way I was before. And it creates an internal emotional agitation. But to my mind and my brain, there is no difference between a physical event that may have caused this agitation, like let's say solar flare, to an emotional response of fear, of insecurity, or a sense that I'm so small compared to what's going on and I cannot control it. Every time I experience this kind of emotional internal buzzing, or I'm completely off axis, it's because I am terrified that I have lost control, that I'm not in alignment and I've lost control somehow. And I want to talk about this in a way that will give you tools so that you can learn how to recognize it. Because a lot of time, and I know this was true for me for the last 2 weeks ago, when that gigantic, when I was buzzing and shaking inside, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't remember. Okay, the feeling was familiar, but I couldn't pinpoint it. And the moment I understood it and I knew what it was, because I've had 5 years ago when the last solar pole reversal happened, I lived through it. I know what to do. The moment I understood what it was, I'm like, okay, I can handle this. I know what it is. It's solar flare. So I need to calm down. I need to do. So I went online. I searched for solar space weather. I saw it was happening. I saw what it was. And I'm like, okay, I know what to do. I've already canceled the plans for the day. I'm just going to take a nap. I'm going to do my prayer to the sun, and I'm going to take a nap. So when it's emotional like this, it may take you a few days to figure it out. Because when I check solar flares and I check all these things, and I realize it's not external, the other way to handle it is that if you can go, as you're feeling this sense that you're not in your center, and you're agitated, and there's a fear or panic that's whose provenance you're unclear about, you go into the fear. You don't fight it. You go into it, and you begin to query it. You ask it questions. So one of the things that I usually starts out with is this coming from me, or is it from the outside? Now, since energy doesn't lie, when you ask questions like this and you go deep within yourself to where you're feeling the agitation, it will tell you the truth. If it's external to you, it will tell you, yes, it's external, at which point you check solar flare, you check other things to see, or it could be an interference, an actual dark principality interference. That's possible as well. Because there are lots of things that are moving about. But if it is none of the above and it's actually coming, it's an emotional thing. It's a perceived agitation, it's perceived fear. You have, for example, you noticing or realizing that there are so many cataclysmic climate change events that you're actually afraid for your own safety, then you need to go within yourself and make peace with the fact that you cannot control this. because the instinct from the frontal lobe is to calculate and figure out a way to adapt. But if there is no adaptation, meaning there is no way for you to adapt because, let's say, for example, the people in Mississippi, the middle of the night, and all of a sudden there was a tornado that was a mile wide that's coming toward the way. So there is no way for, you couldn't run fast enough to get to safety. Some people ran into a tub. I've heard this, you know, I've never went through a tornado, but I've heard that's what you're supposed to do, or go into a basement and or a storm shelter of some kind. And so again, so whichever the case may be, if all of these things are happening around you and you realize you cannot control any of these things, it may cause you to feel that you're unsafe. And a fear may arise from this. And that fear could be a major disturbance. Now that disturbance will take you off axis, and your axis will tilt into fear or into something else. I'm unsafe, I lost control. And that's a different reality. And if you remain in that space over time, when the divergent of parallel reality happen, that's the reality you're going to go into. So it will serve you to figure out a way to disconnect with that perceived fear and return back to where you know that you're safe, which is a state where you're surrendering control to your higher power and know that God and Spirit and all of the celestial hosts have supported you and loved you and cared for you for such a long time that they will continue to do so. And as such, you should trust them and you should have faith that you're going to be okay. So it's important that we, you know, that this is understood and that we go through the process of this query. And in this query, you're asking yourself internally, is this coming from the inside or the outside? When you realize it's coming from within, it's something, it's a perception. I can share with you that not this year, but last year, when I was dealing with a perceived fear. And initially, I didn't know what it was because I woke up literally feeling that somebody was in the hallway outside of my apartment trying to get in to hurt me. And they had guns and everything else. Now, I live in a building that has a lot of youth in it, a lot of 2,000 babies and all that, and they don't cook, they order food out for delivery. Even the coffee from Starbucks. They do Grubhub, they do all kinds of apps, Uber Eats, and all day long, the elevator door opens up and somebody's delivering food. Every time I heard something for 2 days, I was in sheer panic. I was jumping off, you know, somebody's coming to get me. Run, hide, you know. And I have to tell you that what helped me is that I knew that 3 days earlier, I was fine. So I knew that something between 3 days ago and 2 days ago, something shifted. It's not, and I don't remember ever being this way. So I in other words, I went back in my memory and I accessed, I've never had panic attack. Where is this coming from? What's causing this to happen? And more importantly, this is not a normal state of consciousness, that this too will pass. This is an hyper excited state of awareness that I'm in right now, and that is not a normal state, and this is gonna pass. I wanna say here also that there is a difference between depression and being panicked. Panic is what I'm describing right now, where you're hyper alert and you want to flee, you want to run. Depression is the exact reverse, where you're so lethargic and so incapable that every little thing that you need to do, you're incapable of doing it. You're incapable of lifting yourself to walk to the bathroom. You don't have the motivation, and more importantly, you're so deeply have a sense of worthlessness that you don't feel that you're capable of doing anything. Whereas the panic is the reverse. You're overly excited that you want to jump and do so that you can be safe, because you're not safe at the moment. So one is manic, one is quickly agitation, the other one is depressive. And so I was in a manic state. And it took me a minute, but I figured out what the source is and what triggered it. And I was able to calm down and realize, in its worst condition, in the worst place that I can be, what is the fear? I'm afraid that I was going to be homeless at the time. I was so afraid that something is going to happen to me. I'm going to lose everything. And I began to offer God all of it. And I'm like, you've been protecting me my entire life. Why would you withdraw that protection at this point? There is no reason for me to believe that I am disconnected, I'm separated from that protection and that support that I've been having for all these years. And therefore, I need to surrender into the fact that if it has happened for all these years in my life, it will continue to happen. Even through this, even though right now I'm not feeling it, I need to know that I have to remain in this, that the protection is there, even though I'm not feeling it at this moment. And more to the point, I'm going to ask Spirit to remove the root cause of that fear, because that's the other thing that you need to ask, the root cause of that fear, and more importantly, the emotional need. And the need that I had at that moment is that I felt unsafe. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe. That's why I had a fear that somebody was coming with a gun, some rubber, or something was going to come and get me. I didn't feel safe. And what I did is that I prayed. I said, God, give me, instead of me trying to control this and doing such a horrible job, in fact, I'm stressing my body, I'm causing my blood pressure to rise, I'm causing all kinds of things to happen. Give me a different way to handle it, a transcendental way to handle it. Give me the peace and the serenity that you usually give to me, so that I know that I'm protected and no harm will come to me. And that you as you have always done, you will shelter me and you will protect me. And as I took very deep breath and I allow this to happen, by the way, when you're in that state of agitation and panic, you forget everything. It's like you have an amnesia. The emotion is so big and so strong and vibrating so powerfully inside of you, I even forgot how to do a universal breath. I had to go listen to part of my recording and look at some of the stuff that I've written about it so that I could actually remember how, and this is something I could teach in my sleep. I got disconnected to it completely. It's like somebody took a eraser and just wiped that out of me. I'm saying all of this because I want you to be prepared, because the next few years between now and 2027, we're going to have multiple of these experiences. And most of it is not going to be a real threat. It's going to be a perceived threat. The path toward enlightenment is not made up with a straight line curve, like a straight diagonal going up the scale. Rather, It's a sine wave that slowly and sinuously begins to go up and down and rise higher and higher. So there will be moments where there are going to be peaks, and there will also be valleys. But the valleys are as important as the peaks, because the valleys are the moment in which the alignment you thought you had in the peak are going to be tested in real time. You're going to have to figure out a way to reestablish the alignment and take you back into the peak, whilst all this chaos is happening around the world. I want you to think of this. When you are sculpting, I used to be, when I'm undergrad school, I was a sculptor a major in art school. So if you have a piece of wood or a piece of stone, and you have a vision of an artwork that you want to create. Let's say it's a figure, a human figure. You see it in the stone. It's so visible and so clear to you, but no one else sees it. So you have to start chiseling it out. You take the chisel, you take your hammer, and you start knocking it down, and you start, at first it's a wide chisel, and you take big chunks out, and you begin to rough out the shape that you're trying to create. On a continual basis, between now and around 2027, and beyond, we're going to continue to chisel all charts of going into the new earth. It's a whole process when you're sculpting, because you have to use all different size chisels. Some of them are wider, some of them are very narrow and thin, depending on what you're trying to create. And then you have to sand and you have to polish. It's a whole process. And we're going to have to do something akin to that energetically by every time these lows come in, where we're feeling, we are perceiving ourselves as being disconnected, and we're perceiving an other alternate perception penetrate our core. We got to acknowledge that I don't belong to that reality. I am choosing something else. I don't belong in there. You don't passively just sit and hope that it will go away. No, you have to make a choice. You have to actively practice so that you can say, I don't belong in that reality. And when you do this, you chisel and you reaffirm that I'm going, this is the vision, and that's where I'm going. Because there are multiple competitive parallel worlds. Remember, we talked about the fact that the big iron core was entraining all of the other metal that are part of the iron magma together, and now they're separating, they're diverging. You need to say to yourself, I don't belong to that divergence. And whatever that panic was that I was experiencing, that's a divergence that I don't belong to. It's not where I am going. I don't exist in lack. Where I'm going, it's only abundant living and abundant flow that exists. And therefore, I am claiming something else. Now, when you're saying this, it's going to sound, because you're feeling inside of you something else, and you're saying this to yourself, you're going to sound initially that you're delusional. But as you do this, what's going to happen, particularly when you do the universal breath control exercise, as you do this, it's going to open you up. And then you will begin to connect. Remember how to connect to the access and the surrender. Remember, I said to you that the key is to surrender and to release control and to give the control over to your higher power and allow God to shelter you. Remember the Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Though I walk through the valley of shadow and death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. We need to be we need to be in that state to know that he laid me down near green pastures, as the Psalm 23 says. Any questions, any comments?
Yeah, it seems to me that that ties in with your previous couple of classes where you're talking about being in the flow of abundance rather than doubt, but trust that you're in an alignment position. As long as that is happening, you will be automatically moved or directed to any adjustments that you need to make, I would assume, to be safe.
Yeah, it does connect to it, but again, I'm trying to expand it because I'm noticing these other major climate change events that are happening around the world, particularly in the US right now, that are so big and so terrifying that if you're taking them into account over time, and again, you may watch them in a news clip and think it doesn't affect me. But enough of these things happen in 1 week and 2 weeks, that feeling of being unsafe is going to be in your core. It's going to be inside of you. I'm alerting you to make you understand what you're dealing with so that you can begin to make, in the event that it's in there, you know what you're supposed to do. Now, it's not just climate change, okay? Climate change is one thing. You're right, Janice, this is related exactly to the abundant flow that we were talking about, because we are co-creative God and goddesses with God. And what's happening is that if you stay in the fear and the panic, and I'm unsafe, that I'm unsafe, and again, prior to lockdown and pandemic, that was an impossibility for me. If somebody a reader had said, this is what you're going to experience, I would tell them that you're lying, because it was simply not in my reality. But enough of these events occur around you, it's going to penetrate. I remember years ago in the mystery school, one of my teachers would say that if you are a light, if you're the only light in a room of 100 or 1,000 people that are in darkness, the darkness will begin to dim your light. It will begin to cause you to doubt yourself. But if there is a group of you together, you can create, you can add, I can add my light to your light, and you can add your light to my light, and we can begin collectively to create a greater brilliance. So it's not just the climate change event that are causing the doubts. There are lots, mass media play an incredible role in propagating a lot of false stuff. And it's not just mass media alone, innocently, that's doing this. There are dark principalities that are connected to the other realities that are agitating and causing the propagation of these recordings, videos, articles, and so on and so forth to spread to the grid of the planet. We are data inundated, but there is very little wisdom. And people that you trust, people that you love, people whose opinion you think are important, people with credentials, will begin to create and say things, and I've witnessed this already in my life, that are not in alignment with where I am going. I remember doctors and group of people, PhD people, people with lots of fancy titles that are much greater than me saying all things. But I have a criteria, and I've shared this with you before. And I want to remind you, these are the filters that I use to know whether I should watch something or not watch it. When I begin to watch a video or something because friends of mine are communicating, you should watch this. Pierre, did you see this healer, this teacher, this spiritual guru, this herbalist, this, whatever, the scientists say, blah, 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 and they send me all these things all the time. And these are my filters. Is this generating fear in me? That's the first filter. If it's a check, a yes. The second thing, is it demonizing a person or group of people on the planet at this moment? Saying that they are responsible, there's a cabal, and they are the one doing this. Third, is it asking me now to act, to spread, and to be in panic and start burning stuff down and up and down the street? If it's trying to act, to radicalize me, then if all these three things are yes, it is not of God, I'm not listening to it. I'm shutting it down. Unfortunately, I have seen people whose opinion I trusted or whose character I would have vouched for change completely, where they are so radicalized that I don't recognize them anymore. They're going, in a different bus, they're going somewhere else. I don't recognize them anymore. And so what I'm saying is that I want you to pay attention to that, because it's one thing to be triggered by external climate change event, but this is much more subtle, because it's people that contacts, etc., and they are going to share information with you, and that information has a kernel of truth in it. There's a part of it that's truthful, and then that truth is being spun or interpreted in a way that creates these three checks. First one being that it's generating fear, it's demonizing a very specific group as a cabal or an evil, etc., etc. And thirdly, it's trying to radicalize me into taking crazy action. And if all these three things are true, I'm not watching it. I'm done. I'm not listening to it because it is contaminated. There is an agenda. And it's trying to recruit me to go to a different reality. And I'm making a different choice. Again, it's very subtle. So we have to monitor our consciousness to what we are exposing ourselves to. What kind of programs, TV, television, internet, videos, books, articles, are you watching, seeing, and consuming? Because that will determine whether you have a perceived inner agitation that could literally, I've seen people in a matter of 2 months be completely radicalized. I know people who I had initially trust, who have done some, I won't get into the detail because I'm going to get them into trouble politically, who have done some horrible things because they were radicalized, who later on realized that they made a mistake. So we have to constantly go into self-assessment and constantly monitor ourselves, because although you're now in a valley and you pass the test and you're back in the peak, it doesn't mean that 3 days later or a week later there's not going to be another valley. In fact, I can guarantee you there will be another one. Because that's the way the path is. It's an extended test. Think of it as a final test to see if you're ready to go into the new earth. And there are multiple experiences in which you can choose either between alignment and ascended response, emotional response, or you can go in a lower vibratory rate where you respond from fear. And it's very challenging because when you have, this is the crazy thing. A lot of these things are taught in my subconscious mind because I've been doing all of this inner work in my subconscious mind for almost 20 years. I thought a lot of these things I had kicked in. I had reprogrammed a long time ago. You may have done them to a level, but what's going on right now, you're going to be truly tested by the universe, by all of these things I've talked about, whether it's the external actual climate change event, whether it is the mass media related stuff. You're going to really be tested. Did you really master this? And you need to demonstrate it to the universe and choose an ascended response. And again, I do the same thing that I do for the sun. I just take a deep breath. I realize that I'm not disconnected, whatever it is that's creating the fear and the panic. And again, demonizing people and creating scapegoat and saying that this person is the demon and they are, there's a secret government or a secret cabal that's doing it. I'm not saying that there are no nefarious individuals in the world that are trying to capitalize in the shift that's happening right now. I can tell you categorically that all of these nefarious barons who are trying to capitalize are going to get hurt because something far greater and cosmic is taking place. They're going to get hurt. I don't need to go out there and try to combat them and set things on fire. The universe is going to take care of them. I need to monitor my consciousness to make sure that I am not falling prey to the kind of bubble and narrative of fear, panic, xenophobia, hedonism, whatever it is, parallel reality that's being created. And the other parallel reality I wanted to mention, it's the AI reality. Okay, which is right now there's the chat GPT, which is a AI that can write copy for almost anything. For example, if I wanted to generate a copy for WISAC, since the WISAC it says is aligning to the flow of abundant living, I just type that only. It will generate pages and pages of copy, like in an instant like this. There are lots of people that are using them to cheat. Now that AI is so highly intelligent, it is almost self-aware. There were so many movies that were made, including The Matrix, where the computer became so intelligent and self-aware that it had created work. Arnold Schwarzenegger was in several of these movies that he did over and over again that were about exactly that, a war between human and machine. Now, the technology, although it was being pushed by Elon Musk and all these people, even the head of the chat GPT are now asking for a moratorium for 6 months in the development of this AI technology because they're so afraid of the development that they realize how harmful it could be to humanity. This is the same Elon Musk who's trying to chip people in their brain with chips so that they can connect to the internet and to this AI directly. So there is that reality, which is a bio computer kind of like future. As terrifying as that may be. And even he and a whole bunch of people, this was in the news last week, I've signed this paper asking all the developers to put a hold on everything for 6 months. because it's moving so fast, because these computers don't have morality. They don't know right from wrong. Now they're saying that technology could help, for example, if you're trying to figure out, predict weather, predict earthquake, blah, 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 because this crunch so much data much faster than any human being can do. They could subserve us, they could help, blah, blah, blah. But the technology is so advanced that these computers are taking initiative on their own. And this is where the developers are getting scared. They are taking initiative on their own, as if they are self-aware. So you need to keep making these choices as these things are happening, because nothing can surpass spiritual consciousness and the expansion that exists in the blessed field. Not the AI, nothing can surpass it. Nothing. Of this, I am completely certain. Because that AI thing is a parallel world and parallel realities that exist in other universes and other solar system where that has existed and that it has failed. So we need to be cognizant, and we need to be constantly assessing where these things are coming from. And we need to keep reaffirming that we are going in the ascended tomorrow, and I'm trusting in the universe or the reality of abundant living. Because I'm not disconnected, I've always been supported, and I'm surrendering into this, and I'm letting that part completely blend with me and hold me safe. Any questions, any comments?
I think that I may, I'll start again. I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but I have tuned out from all news programs. I have enough on my shoulders to deal with, to keep myself balanced. And the negativity that inevitably is spewed out of any television network is upsetting, and it disturbs the focus of my desire and ability to remain balanced. So yes, I do hear stories about things that have happened, as you said, from others, but there is so much wonderful, so many wonderful events also happening in the world that I rather tune into, that are supportive to my journey, that uplift rather than destroy your emotional set point. Is that escapism?
No, it's not escapism. I think that to a degree we should be prepared, because, okay, the one thing I think we should be aware of, for example, if there is an actual climate change event where we have to flee, if you're not watching the news, you're not paying attention, you're going to remain still. We have to have agility, and we have to be self-aware enough to know that if there's a tornado coming and there's a warning on your phone that's telling you to get out, you should get out. Okay? So there is that part. Because if it's an actual emergency climate change thing, you should do what you need to do to survive. There's also what's happening with the banking system and the financial system around the world. That's another worry. Okay? I have clients right now that are canceling certain things because they are concerned about that or the other, and this, that, or the other. And because they are doing this, it's going to cause me some discomfort, but I'm going to be okay, because God has always taken care of me. I'm going to be okay. I know that. I'm going to be okay. So, but by the same token, I need to be aware of what's happening with the banking system, because it was part of the predictions that we received in December, that there's going to be a recalibration of the entire global financial system into a more equitable and balanced way of sharing. And I have a feeling that that is not going to even be fiat money. It's going to be some sort of version of crypto, an alternative system. And so I need to be aware of this as well. I so happen to have been banking in one of the banks that got into trouble, but it didn't affect me in any way. The bank changed name, but my account number is the same. The money I have is still there. It didn't affect me in any way. For a moment there was a worry because the person I'm dealing with at the bank is rushing me, go at the ATM right now and try to take your money out, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. It was during a class, and I'm like, I'm not walking away from my class to do some crazy things like this. What is that saying about me? That I don't trust that God is going to take care of me? That whatever amount that I have in the bank is safe? That I'm going to be okay? I didn't react. She was in panic, but she texted me. And eventually, when it worked out okay. The name of the bank changed, but nothing else changed for me from my end. But what I want to do now, because it's prudent planning, knowing what's going to happen 2024, 2025, I need to move whatever little bit I have, or the abundant flow that the universe will give to me between now and then, because I'm existing abundant living. The universe is bringing me a fortune. And whatever that fortune is, I need to place it in location that in the event that fiat currency is worth very low, that I'm not affected. That's where I cannot disconnect with the world. I need to still be engaged in some ways so that I know what's going on. Now, funny enough, I had channeled all of this, but the channeling said that the real recalibration will be in 2024, 2025. So when it began to happen in March, I was kind of shocked, surprised, like it happened earlier than I thought. And I thought it was the first domino, but when I checked with my other people who are also connected to the future, they all said, no, don't worry about this that's happening right now. It will self-correct. It's a warning shot. The real changes in 2024, 2025, they reaffirm what was what I received in the channeling. And all of the things I'm talking to you right now were part of the channeling from the Galactic Region Council in December. They're on the website under the blog. They're there. The magnetic north and the Earth magnetic pole reversal, all of that is in there. What was not in there was the sine wave and the peaks and the valleys, and that detail I'm beginning to perceive right now. I'm beginning to see it so clearly right now. And I'm saying this because we need to zoom out, because when you're inside of these experiences, you don't understand why, and you think that, am I crazy? This week, I feel so high and so connected to spirit. And then a couple of weeks later, what is this that I'm feeling in my core that's so strange? Whether it's solar flare related or whatever it is, this agitation is not normal. This is not who I am. And again, because my energy field, Janice, lucky for you that you can isolate yourself and withdraw and not connect in any way. As an empath and giving the work that I'm doing, the grid of New York itself is such a big grid that has so many divergent things in it that as an empath and as much as how big my energy is, I pick up a lot of things. And this is why when I go in, the first thing I ask is this coming from me or is it coming from the outside? Because a lot of time I'm picking up what exists in the collective unconscious. And if it is not coming from me, I don't need to feel it. I ask God and spirit, disconnect me to this. I don't need to feel what other people are feeling. Now, if it's mine, if it's something I'm internalizing from other people, what's the back door through which this is entering. So that experience is serving me because I have a back door that's open. And let's close that back door so that it will never happen again. These experiences between now and 2027 is going to serve as a way, it's like a sieve, it's like a cosmic sieve to separate things and to remove from us what no longer serves. Does that make any sense, Janice? Did I answer your question?
Yes, I appreciate that. In terms of, though, trying to decide what to do, for instance, if the fiat currency is devalued, you could probably find conflicting opinions on what to do with every source that you seek. I think maybe it's escapism again, but I rather trust that that the right information will be brought to me when I need it, if I need to make a change, rather than to seek out and proactively take a stab at one person or one company's opinion about what's the best thing to do. And I don't think anybody knows what the best thing to do is.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit of a conundrum there in terms of having trust and faith that I will be brought to, or the right information will be brought to me to make a course correction if I need to.
Right. Trust, and again, okay, we each will know at the right moment what we're supposed to do. Right? So you have to connect again, go to your practice and your spiritual connection to whatever internally you're doing. And at the right moment, you will know, aha, and it will light up like a Christmas tree for you. And you will know that's what I'm supposed to do at this time. And the timing is my timing for taking action is not going to be yours. So we all will know at the right time what we're supposed to do.
I guess that's my hope, that's my thought, because I tried looking into a few things and it was just so confusing. It would be, like taking a stab in the dark, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that there are lots of people that have different opinion and they're trying to capitalize and get your money, basically.
Yes.
They are shysters. They're not, yeah. I know what you mean. Anyways, but it again, trust your internally. And again, when you're watching these people, particularly as it relates to whatever's going to happen to currency and all that, the three criteria: is it generating fear in me? Is it demonizing one collective or group of people? And is it asking me to radically act at this moment? And if all three is all true, it's not your path. Use that filter for everything. It's not coming from truth and from light.
Thank you.
Yeah, because a lot of these people are generating fear and demonizing this, and this it's all this crazy cell tactic. And when that happened, I click it off. I don't even continue. I just click it off. I'm not watching this. This is the wrong vibration for me. You will know what you're supposed to do at the right time. So that I'm certain.
And my focus is to stay in alignment so that I can be as flexible when that information comes to me, or I'm picking up a gut feeling to do something. Until then, I think I just stay away from everything. Yeah.
The problem with the gut feeling, I can tell you that, is that when I was in the panics, the few panic experiences, it wasn't a lot, a few of them that I had, maybe 2 or 3, I can tell you that when I was in them, I could have sworn it was a gut feeling coming from God.
Oh. Mhm.
That's the confusing part.
Mhm.
That's the part that's scary. But it was so out of left field, and it felt so strange and so unusual because it was such a strong. Because the point I'm trying to the nuance I'm trying to make now is that what comes really from God is a whisper, and it's a complete knowing, but it is a whisper. What I'm talking about right now is an agitation that comes so strong. It's a very different thing. It's an agitation that you need to drop right now. And if it's an agitation, it's not from God. You're reacting from fear. When it comes from God, it's a complete knowing, but it's very soft. Remember this. This is really, really important. And that's the whole point of me doing this class, is to try to train you from my own personal experience of the difference between the two. Because when I had, again, about 2 or 3 of these experiences of the strong agitation, you're really believing that the fear and the doubt that you're having now is coming from God. And you're supposed to do blah, 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 blah,
I think that's a good point to say neutrality has to be involved before you receive some message you think is from God.
Yeah.
That's an emotional place of balance, of neutrality before, because you can be fooled by your own emotional set point.
Yep. And again, to your point, the issue is that when you're having this strong emotion, you don't even remember how to go into the neutrality. There's an amnesia because the emotion is so strong.
Right.
You have an amnesia. You don't even remember. I have the vague memory that I'm not right. I know I'm not right, and I should not take any action at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm not right. And therefore, I'm going to hold for that period, not take any action at this moment. And eventually it ebbs out. It ebbs out, and then I have clarity again.
Yeah, that's wise.
We have to be very careful. And I'm trying to warn you to pick up that nuance, because it's a slight thing. And then you jump, you do this, blah, 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 and then you make the wrong choice.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have regrets and everything else, and it becomes an expensive lesson if it's money that you spend. Mm-hmm. It's a lesson, you self-correct after that, but it's an expensive lesson. Mm-hmm. So the idea is to go back and say to yourself, okay, right now I'm feeling it's coming so strong and so loud, and it's the buzzing and the agitation. It feels so strong that I have to do this at this moment. There's a kind of urgency. You need to do this now. If it's coming this way, it's not of God. God doesn't talk that way.
Good point.
You all have heard the voice of God. It is an all-knowing, but it is soft. It's almost like a whisper. It's very gentle. So it's a whisper, yet at the same time, it's all-knowing. In your core, everything lines up, you see, and it's a release. It's like, It's not, do it now. If it's coming from there, it's the wrong place. Any other questions or comments? All right, let's take a 5-minute break, and we'll do after that our closing meditation. 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And notice what you noticed. It is as if your eyes were in the middle of your chest and you could only perceive the world from that part of your body. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. Listen. Listen as if the more than 50 trillion cells that exist in your body had ears. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. Notice any discomfort that may exist in your body or in your core. And without any judgment. Let your entire consciousness and self-awareness listen to this discomfort. What kind of information? Knowing. Is this trying to communicate to you? This is your teacher. Listen. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. Is this coming from me, or is it coming from the outside? I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender to the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness in endless luminosity. Lord, take this burden away from me. I let go. It is not my responsibility to do, fix, or repair anything. Now take a very deep breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet in a counterclockwise direction, rotating upwards, passing through you and dislodging any core fears or discomfort, and let them all exit outside of your head and be released in infinity times infinity. Surrender, exhale, and let go. Take a very deep breath from source where the healing and the repairs that you need and the support of the divine comes to you. Inhale all of this in, clockwise, spinning into the top of your head, moving through your body, exiting at the bottom of your feet and going into the core of the earth. Let go. Surrender. Release. Take another breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you as it rotates upwards, dislodging all fears, all discomfort, and let it all exit outside of your head and let it all be released completely into the blessed field. Let go. Surrender. It is not your responsibility to fix, control, manage anything. Take another breath now from the blessed field where benevolence and kindness is rushing toward you. Inhale all of this goodness in and let it cascade into your body, healing and repairing the more than 50 trillion cells in your body, and let it drop into the very core of the earth. Take another breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging all discomforts and all fears, and let it all exit outside of your head as you release control. And you allow the frequency of neutrality, of peace, of serenity of the divine to move toward you, bringing you into alignment to the celestial harmonics. Take a deep breath of this holy sacrament and let it cascade into your being, spreading joy, clarity, peace, and love. And let it ground into the core of the earth. Take one more breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging any residual fears and discomfort that may exist in you, rising higher and higher, and release all of it into the vast continents. Surrender and let go. And let the uncreated all the presence that is everywhere envelope you in support, alignment, and divine embrace of strength, power, and healing. And let this entire celestial quart of goodness pour down upon me, an endless and abundant flow of perpetual renewal, healing, and rest. In the circle whose circumference is everywhere and whose center is nowhere. I am at rest. In the presence of the endless. May the formless luminosity that exists at the essence of being, the Dharmata, replenish my consciousness, my being, my soul, and every cell in my body with the flow of abundant living. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre. I could stay there forever, but I know we have to end the class.
You're welcome, Janice. You're welcome. You're welcome. Happy to hear that.
Mhm.
I want to thank all of you for listening to me tonight. If you're listening to us on Patreon, thank you for your support. All of you on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you and many blessings to you. Let's do this together. I know it's subtle, but it's important. And I will speak to you next week. Thank you. Love you. Bye.
Good night. Love you.